LeBron brought us out of retirement. So let's get into it, man. Where we at? What's going on, y'all? Officially out of retirement. Bron brought me back. Bron was out here. He decided he didn't like that LA weather no more, or at least not enough to go be third fiddle down there in LA. So he decided to finally peace out after 26 days, no, 25 days of free agency. He's heading to the Philadelphia 76ers, which is still so crazy to say. LeBron James is going to be a Philadelphia 76er. That's nuts. That's nuts. But so first initial thoughts. I waited. We just got informed that Contavious Caldwell Pope is going to be joining him. I had an idea. Braun doesn't usually move by himself, especially with this whole clutch factor. I was expecting a couple other guys to kind of come with him. KCP's a good pickup, so I kind of wanted to talk about everything in its totality versus just immediate clickbait. Like, oh my gosh, he's a 76er. Which, oh my gosh, he's a 76er. It is kind of we are there. We are there. Um, but first initial thoughts when I saw the tweet. When I saw that tweet, I said, "That man, he sold out." That's the first thing I said, and because I just don't. Are you wagging your tail behind me? Is that it wasn't a great fit. It was not a great fit in my eyes on the basketball court. It looked like what role would it looked like almost in a sense of what would be the easiest role for him to contribute to a winning team. This feels like it's slated for him to be kind of like this veteran mentor, help these young stars kind of find their way and teach them winning habits versus the LeBron James standard of I'm LeBron. Listen to what I got going on, and we're gonna go win this championship. Or at least we're gonna go to the finals, or at least we're gonna get there. As long as we're not facing, one of the best teams in NBA history, odds are we're odds are we're probably not gonna lose. Odds are we're probably gonna win, right? So seeing this was super surprising to me, just because I thought one of the major factors of him leaving Los Angeles was he didn't want to be the third fiddle, right? Looking at Luka Doncic and his touches, looking at Austin Reeves and his touches, and I thought it was he doesn't want to be the third guy. He still thinks he has the juice to be the second guy, which to a degree, I would agree with that sentiment. I think he has the juice to still be that second guy. I think he just needs a true number one next to him at this point. Dude, come on. Okay. Anyway, it was very interesting just to see he's so willing to take this reduced offensive role. Because, like I said, third fiddle in Los Angeles, to argue he's maybe fifth fiddle right now, you understand, in Philadelphia. And I mean, of course, it depends how they're going to work out this offensive situation. Ideally, of course, BJ Edgecombe shouldn't be taking over his possessions on offense. But thinking as a developmental piece, you want VJ to get these regular season reps, and you want him to get comfortable with these more aggressive defensive coverages and kind of ascend on that stardom kind of trajectory that he's been giving us so far. Um, you can't really do that if you have him sitting in the corner, right? You can't really do that as much. But maybe a year or two next to LeBron's more valuable than those touches. I'd argue maybe it is. I don't know. 'Cause then of course you already have Tyrese Maxey, who had phenomenal several seasons at this point. It's not just a 1 year kind of spurt. Why is he staring from Mike? No, stop. Um, um, Tyrese Maxey, of course, he's like multiple really good seasons on top of each other. Joel Embiid, I don't need to speak for him. His resume speaks for itself. And then you have Jalen Brown, who kind of stepped into this larger offensive role last year with Jason Tatum out, and he averaged what 28, 27 points per game. It's feeling really hard to see who's going to take the offensive hit besides LeBron, which is crazy because Brown's still talent. Where I mean, I think he can still go get 20 anytime. You know, just with his skill sets, athleticism, his this feels like a situation he's going to have to average less than 20. Less than 20, a lot less than 20. 14, 14, 7, and 7. He's going to be Draymond. This was what I'm seeing in this role, and I could be wrong. Absolutely could be wrong. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to have the 42-year-old highest um, mild player, as far as mileage on his legs, most experienced player in NBA history to now all of a sudden try to take on more of a defensive cleanup guy role. That doesn't really make sense. Dean Wade is kind of the ideal guy you want in that situation. And, I really love the signing for him. As a Lakers fan, I was like, Man, the AAV they got him at like 9 million starts at. I think it starts at it's an average of 10 over the course of the 4 year deal, but starts at 9. Beautiful deal. Beautiful deal. I love that for him. I was like, I can't believe maybe I'm just out of the loop about what guys think of Dean Wade, but I thought that was a great signing. I was ready for them to run that as their starting five with Dean Wade. Of course, if you have the ability to upgrade from Dean Wade to LeBron James, who's gonna say no? 62-year-old LeBron James. Let's just see what he got. Let's still put him out there. We'll see what he has in the tank. We'll figure it out later. Um, but yeah, I'm very interested to see who's gonna be the glue guy when we look at these super teams and kind of getting together this conglomerate of poorest talents in the NBA. It's like who does the dirty work? I look at the Phoenix Suns when they had Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and KD, and it's like, where did that go wrong? Part of it was kind of the half court initiator. They didn't have a true point guard. The other half of it's kind of like, um, they had some health concerns. Maybe the coaching scheme wasn't quite what he was envisioning, and Mike Budenholzer being him. Maybe he wasn't quite what he had envisioned it would be defensively, and maybe they need a different offensive coach. But at the end of the day, I feel like they lack that glue guy, the hard board crasher, the guy diving for loose balls, the guy who's closing out those hard defensive possessions with a good rebound. You miss that guy, that glue guy, that connector, that Alex Caruso. You miss that guy that kind of glue everything together. I'm looking at this starting five and I don't see it. I think Braun can do it. Does LeBron want to do it? I think is the biggest thing, and it sounds like he does. From if you haven't seen this tweet already, or the public statement he made. I'm sorry, it was also a tweet. Um, he considered retiring, but he was like, "Hey, still want to go win. I still want to go compete at a high level for a championship." That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. But it almost feels weird asking LeBron to change here because his method is tried and true. Listen, in 2010s, the Eastern Conference Finals was the LeBron Invitational. It was like, who wants to come play Cleveland and try to get to the finals? That was the Eastern Conference Finals was 98% of the team's finals appearance because they couldn't get past it, right? They say, "Oh well, it's Cleveland." It was a good season, guys. You understand? That's what it was. So now it's like asking him to kind of give up that formula that led him to have that championship DNA. That seems a little bit odd, but I think we'll see it more like an empowering role where he'll kind of challenge those guys like Jalen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid to go kind of take the role that he previously did. And I think he's the perfect guy to try to teach them how to win at the highest level. Which, of course, Jalen Brown, he is Finals MVP. He's done it. He's been there, right? So I think it's a little bit interesting though, just to figure out who's going to be that glue connecting piece there, and trying to figure out how does it all make sense as a group. Like Tyrese Maxey, great point guard. VJ Edgecombe, very very promising shooting guard. Jalen Brown, great wing. Braun is LeBron. Joel Embiid, great center when he's on the court. Awesome. How's it look as a group? All five guys on the floor. How's it? Why are you staring over my shoulder, dude? You're weird. Okay. So I got a couple different opinions coming from different angles. As a Lakers fan, I'm gonna open up the Lakers segment. I'm gonna have it broken down, hopefully in chapters below, if you want to look at a specific point of view of what I'm thinking of. But as a Laker, I think the most obvious thing, and again, I thought this was a touches thing. He just wanted more of an offensive role. His what's the word I'm thinking of? His usage rate. His usage rate. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe it was the lowest it had been since his rookie year, if the numbers serve me right, in my memory. The lowest usage rate he had since his rookie year. Which, if you're not familiar with usage rate, essentially that's taking out of every possession this player plays, how many of those possessions end with said basketball player ending the play, whether it's a field goal attempt, make or miss, whether it's a turnover, or whether it's an assist, right? LeBron was at the lowest percentage of his plays being ended by him, right? Which means essentially all this is indicative of he's taking a more relaxed role offensively, right? So I thought, hey, LeBron spent 28 years, including high school, being the guy, and now for like the first time ever, he's like undoubtedly not the best player on his team. I was like, maybe that's why. He just wants more offense. He wants more roles. He wants to be able to be LeBron. Fair. But what this move tells me is the Lakers' relationship with LeBron James was fractured beyond repair, and this wasn't necessarily purely a basketball move. Maybe we can sugarcoat it and we'll do our PR media spin and say he just felt the 76ers had a better chance at winning a championship. Maybe it's my Lakers bias. The relationship had been frayed beyond repair, and it was more of a personal connection between the two necessarily than the offensive role in itself, because he's taking an even more reduced offensive role now for the sake of winning championships. And like I said, I could be wrong. Maybe it's my Lakers bias. I think the Lakers with LeBron has a better chance at like the current Lakers, this current rebuilt Lakers have a better shot at a championship than the current 76ers. And as I'm saying this right now, they just signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So if they sign anyone after Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if they make any sort of deal, I'm not privy to that. Maybe my opinion changed. But I feel like that's a better team with the Lakers. We have Luka Doncic. You're gonna have Austin Reeves. You insert whoever you want at that three spot. And you have Braun Walker Kessler. You have a revamped bench that makes more sense in winning basketball. I think that team has a better shot. But I think that relationship was so far gone, shout out to Drake, that I don't think you had an opportunity to even try to repair it this summer. And I think it was a mutually exclusive breakup. I think this is one of the few times it truly was mutual. Um, because I mean, they're talking about, oh, the Lakers reached out to Braun at the beginning of free agency, and Rich Paul was like, "Don't even waste your time. Sorry, he's not coming back." It's hard to believe they really wanted Braun back when he's been extension eligible for how long during the season? All season, for the record. Um, and then last season, before he opted into his player option, they as in Clutch. There were discussions about him opting out and signing a long term deal for lower AAV, so taking a little bit of a pay cut to help the team then, but for more years. So this last year, they were willing to take a pay cut to stay long term with the Lakers. So but then the Lakers didn't offer the agreement. That's why LeBron ended up opting in because there wasn't any other deal on the table. It's hard to say that this was a LeBron fueled move when you have things like that. Like it just doesn't pass the smell test. I'm not privy to those conversations, so I can't say, hey, Rich Paul's wrong or hey, Rob Pelinka's wrong or whatever. I'm not privy to those conversations. Neither are you, more than likely watching this. But it does seems a little bit odd that they had no interest in offering an extension up until free agency, and now it's oh, the Lakers reached out, but we're not interested. It's in a smell test for me. This is not. This, um, but yeah, that was just a really interesting thing is to see that it had frayed so much. And I mean, one thing you have to understand: LeBron James has chosen to be a Laker longer than he has any other team at one single go ever. You understand? Because when he was with Cleveland, it's like he was drafted there. So first 4 years, you don't have any choice, and then you sign your max extension. You don't. You still. I mean, he's a restricted free agent. It's LeBron James. Everyone's matching it. I don't care if you hate it here. You're coming back for another 4 years. Tough. Then second, he's a free agent. After that, he's making a beeline to South Beach. And then he goes to South Beach, plays 4 years, wins a ring, or loses in a championship, and then goes back to Cleveland. 4 years. And then leaves and goes to the Lakers. And the Lakers, the first time he really kicked re-signing with the team. If I'm not mistaken, besides his restricted free agent offer, he's never re-signed with the team besides the Lakers. So it was really interesting to kind of see the turn. Like the one time he was trying to like have like the fairy tale ending and just write out his career, it kind of burns up in flames for whatever whatever was going on behind the scenes. It burned up for some reason because the relationship's cooked. Right? I don't know if it's personal. I don't think it's a personal thing. I don't know. But the working relationship ain't working. That's the problem. And part of it, I do think it was quite a hard fit between LeBron and Luca. Um, pe- Listen, there's all the people who are body language experts, and they're like, look how Bron's sitting at the 27-second portion of this random Tuesday game in Orlando, and they're like, wow, he didn't get up to shake Luca's hand. Now that means they hate each other. Quite in that boat. But I do think just visually watching the game. watching LeBron for the last 8 years of my life, and I mean longer than that. Obviously, I've been a fan of basketball before that, but seeing how he interacts with other people, and then seeing how he was interacting with Luka Doncic at this point in time, it was kind of odd. It felt very scripted. It felt like from my point of view, could be completely wrong. I don't know, but from my point of view, it seemed a lot more like he was attempting to have a good photo op with Luka versus genuinely being there for Luka. That's my point of view, right? And I don't think it was like a jealousy thing with LeBron James. He's been there, he's done that with just about everything at this point. I don't think it was anything like that. I just think it was a real shell shock because you see Luka Doncic, or no, sorry, you see Anthony Davis and LeBron. They were there for years after that Russell Westbrook deal. Asking for this, a real hard swing. Just put all the chips on the table. Just tell us you believe in us. And the Lakers just never really gave them that. And then you see Luka Doncic come in. One, you see Anthony Davis gets shipped out. Of course, LeBron and AD seem to have a really close relationship. Some people were like, it's just the meme, the face you make before you about to backdoor your man's, and it's like, oh, they set up AD, whatever. I think Braun knew. I think Braun knew that Luka Doncic was coming in, and part of that is I don't think he would have called. He would have signed off on that. No, I don't think he would have. I don't think Rich Paul would have signed off on AD going to Dallas. I think there's a lot of things that would have gotten blown up if LeBron was aware that that was going on. So now you get kind of a bombshell on a random February 1st. I believe it was February 1st. Luka trade that Luka Doncic is coming to LA, one of the highest usage rate players ever. They're going to come take the ball out of your hands as the primary playmaker. Getting away, losing your defensive kind of stopper in the paint, even though he has injury problems, still a very, very good defender. And now you have to figure things out on the backside. And you're just kind of running and figuring out things in real time, which I think it was a really tough situation. I think it's something that you don't see work out very often. Is you very rarely see like a passing the torch that's genuinely just like a mutually agreeable situation. But then you see that and now it's like Austin Reeves is starting to pop off, and now he's dropping 50-point games, and he's getting game winners and hitting game winners when he's being guarded by Jaden McDaniels, and he's just frying. And you see him taking his lead. Well, LeBron's 41. They don't think they can win championship now anyway, so they're trying to stack up and build for Luka and Reeves going forward. Well, what is the point of LeBron still being there at that point? Something else to keep in mind, kind of over this time period, uh, we saw clutch figureheads, and I'm not saying that in like a derogatory manner, like literally, like prominent members of the clutch agency and very prominent signees to clutch agency, people who are represented by clutch. I mean, just dogging the Lakers as a whole in the last, I don't know, 12 months. I mean, just like very uncharacteristic. Listen, Rich Paul has been an opinionated individual his entire life. I'm more than sure. I don't think he waited until 2026 to be able to speak out on a podcast. I don't think he waited to this point to say Austin Reeves should be traded and Draymond Green saying Austin Reeves is now overpaid. I don't think these guys are waiting to take shots now, but they had him back then. Like I don't think they were biting their tongue and now, oh, Bron's mad. Now we're just on the loose. We're just saying whatever we want to say. There was some low hanging fruit a couple years there in LA. That right after that Rush trade, if guys just wanted to be brutally honest, just wanted to pick apart the Lakers and what they were doing, they could have. They could have talked about the THT extension. They could have talked about the Russell Westbrook trade in itself. They could have talked about promising Damian Jones a starting role to come sign with them. You could talk about a lot of things there about the missteps that the Lakers were doing, trying to kind of save that era, so to speak, of the team. We didn't hear much, and what we did hear wasn't super uh, noteworthy as far as attacking the front office or anything like that. It was more apparent basketball statements. But now it's Austin Reeves is overpaid. Austin Reeves needs to be traded. This guy isn't that good. Rob Pelinka, Anthony Davis is laughing under tweets that AD can never get a center in LA, and guys are a lot more vocal nowadays. And it just seems a little odd. Seems a little odd. I don't know. Maybe there definitely could be more to the story back there behind the scenes that we're just not privy to. There's always going to be a side of the story we're never going to see as a public media, as public fans, because that's the whole point of having a PR team. It's the whole point of having there's people paid on payroll to make sure these sorts of things don't come out to light. So I can't stay here and speak with confidence, but this seems odd. Timing seems odd. Um, of course, Ron's his own person. He can't speak for everybody. Just because he's associated with them doesn't mean he shares the same ideologies. But everybody at your lunch table is all saying they hate chocolate milk. People are going to start assuming you also hate chocolate milk, whether it's right or wrong. They are. This is how it works. So that's all I got there. Um, yeah, I think that's all I really got about the Lakers side of this. It's really sad to see from the Warriors' point of view. It's kind of sad to not see him go there. I'm gonna be honest with you, because watching those little glimpses of LeBron James and Stephen Curry playing together on Team USA, I wanted 82 games of it, man. I wanted to listen. I was ready to say, sign me up. 82 games of it. They're both probably gonna miss about 15 games. Between those 15 games they both missed, they'll probably split a couple hairs. Maybe we'll get 55 games together of them. I was gonna be seated for those. Okay. Just kind of seeing the synergy they have. Of course, you have the Draymond LeBron connection. They apparently have a really good relationship off the court. I thought it was really interesting. But one kind of general consensus I had, knowing who LeBron James is at this point in time as a player, there was no team I saw in the NBA that I'm like, you're not a contender. But if you add this LeBron, now you are. There just that didn't exist for me. That just didn't exist. I feel like either that was your tier, or you need to add something else with LeBron to kind of elevate that tier. In which, of course, you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and probably another wing coming with him. That kind of bumps things a little bit. But there wasn't any team I just saw that like, hey, you add 41 going on 42-year-old LeBron, you're a championship team now. Not really. Like 76ers, I already thought they were a championship contender before they got LeBron. I think this is a cherry on top. But as far as the Warriors goes, like I said, I don't think they were going to be elevated to a championship tier just because they got LeBron. I think they still needed some pretty aggressive roster reconstruction, if I'm being honest with you. It was reportedly rumored, they, as in LeBron and Clutch Agency, were kind of stalling a little bit to try to see if we could get Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving moved to a new destination, team up with LeBron. I think if you're talking about adding AD and LeBron to Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, you might be able to talk me into that's a championship team. That sounds real good. But it sounds like they were going to have to take a pretty aggressive overpay to land Anthony Davis from the Washington Wizards, which they play their cards well too. But just as a basketball fan, a basketball purist, wanting to see some really fun basketball, watching LeBron be a primary playmaker, the stuff flying around screens, and the heat check moments together, stuff like that, that would have been really fun. But um, considering he was prioritizing the chance to win championship, I'm honestly surprised the Warriors lasted as long as they did. Like I don't think Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr would tell you they're a championship contender right now. I don't think they would. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But shout out Draymond. Apparently, the word that's being released out here is that now that they missed out on LeBron, the idea is to come give Draymond a more lucrative deal, and re-sign him for long term. Go get the bread, man. Happy for you. Let me see. I got a little cliff notes on the phone here about what I want to talk about with Braun here. So I'm just going through my notes real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh yeah, something I did want to talk about a little bit. Did the Warriors truly pull out all the stops to get LeBron? And the reason I asked this, I feel like Draymond was recruiting pretty aggressively. Um, I could really be mixing up GMs because so many people have been making references. I believe Mike Dunleavy had a conversation and they were talking about they were still looking at adding one more piece, wink, wink, LeBron. And everyone's like, "Well, the Chiefs LeBron, it's so cool." Like I believe that was Mike Dunleavy Jr., but I could be wrong. There's been a lot of guys talking about Braun recently. This is really interesting because I feel like again, I could be misreading the situation. I don't know these guys individually. I feel like if Curry called Braun and said, "Let's do it," I just don't see Braun after their history together, after all the fights back and forth, they've had to fight with each other. I just don't see Braun saying, "No, I'm good." I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be misattributing things. Maybe I'm reading the room wrong. I don't know. It just seems. I don't know. I feel like, especially with the previous noted history of the Warriors trying to trade for Braun last All Star break, last trade deadline, they were trying to trade for Braun apparently. Um, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they put out all the stops. It just doesn't. It feels like they left a little bit of meat on the bone here. Um, they don't have a super enticing lineup as it is. Like at least like I don't know. Maybe and again they could have, but maybe have a deal lined up to follow LeBron. So hey, LeBron, listen, I know we don't look that great right now, but you're gonna play next to Steph, and we're gonna go trade for Kawhi. I don't know. We have Kawhi Leonard deal lined up. So hey, we know we don't look great right now, but we got some things working in the background. We can make everything make sense later. Again, maybe that did exist, and we're just not ever gonna know because LeBron didn't pick them. I don't know, but it's from what was being publicly reported, and over the last 25 days, all we've had is pure speculation. So I feel like if that was a real thing, I feel like we would have heard about it. So we've heard about everything else. I feel like I was getting daily updates about what LeBron was eating for lunch. So I feel like they would have mentioned that, but could be wrong. Could be wrong. That's the only real note I had about the Warriors' approach. I feel like it could have been more aggressive. Like it felt like the Cavs wanted. It felt like the Heat wanted LeBron. It felt like the 76ers wanted LeBron. I felt like the Warriors were like, if you come here, that's cool, I guess, man. That's cool. You want to play power forward? Sounds fun. It wasn't that urge, that want. I don't know. That could be my read. I don't know. The Philadelphia angle. Um, this is a no brainer. This is a no brainer. While I am concerned about defensive rotations, defensive rebounding with the starting group, with on ball defense activity and things like that. This is LeBron James. 10 out of 10 times you make this deal if you're Philadelphia 76ers. You're getting LeBron James on a minimum. I don't care if LeBron is 98 in a wheelchair. You sign LeBron James. Like box office alone, more than likely you're gonna have LeBron retire with your franchise. You're gonna get the last dance with LeBron. Congrats. You just made $200 million. Congrats. I think people are really overthinking this to a degree. Like, I get the basketball fit is rough. They might have to waive Jabari Walker for LeBron. Okay, he's on a minimum. If it sucks, if this blows up horrifically, you can waive LeBron. It doesn't change your platform at all. If this goes absolutely bonkers and just blows up in their face, he's on a minimum. He's on a minimum. Like what? And again, how wrong can it go? He's on a minimum. like how badly can this really go with a minimum LeBron? So I really love this for Philadelphia just on that aspect. I mean, it was a no brainer. I love it. I love it. If Braun, listen, if he still continues to decline, even at the current trajectory he's kind of been on in recent years, he's still way better than a minimum player. You're getting way more value out of him than you would any other minimum guy. Even a wash LeBron's still better than 85, 90% of the league. So who cares anyway? Like, who cares if he's washed up? Cool. Still all star. Doesn't matter. So, really, that's a really interesting thing to see. One thing I am interested to watch, kind of on that Philly angle. How does Nick Nurse handle this locker room? If I could be mistaken, if I'm making this at 1 a.m. right now that I'm talking. Um, but I believe the primary leading factor that had the Toronto Raptor Nick Nurse divorce divorce, whoa, was him losing that locker room with Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam and guys. I don't want to miss. I don't want to paraphrase. It's been years, but to my memory, it was something about their roles and wanting more offensive leverage versus other guys and not enough touches. That kind of idea. I'm interested to see if that truly is the case. And again, apologies if I'm misquoting and misparaphrasing here. Uh, I'm interested to see if you can't keep those egos in check. I want to see how it happens with Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brown, LeBron, and Joel Embiid. LeBron James is LeBron James. He's not gonna take a true offensive backseat unless he wants to. He's just not. They tried to put LeBron in the corner last year. He still averaged 20. You're just not taking him off. When you're that great of an offensive talent, he's gonna get it. He just is. You have Joel Embiid, who's arguably one of the greatest big men scorers in NBA history. He's going to go in there. He's going to get it, and you don't want to relegate him to a lesser role offensively because he is such a dominant and efficient scorer. And one thing, I think he's a really, really good playmaker, specifically for others on the court. I think people look at his assist per game. They try kind of confabulate an idea of what his playmaking truly is based off of these very basic statistics. And like, oh, he's not Jokic because he's not averaging 11 assists a game. And I don't think he's a playmaker Jokic is, but I also think he's a very, very underrated playmaker. So I really don't want to see him losing that ability to be a secondary playmaker. We'll see what happens. Then you got Jalen Brown, like I said, averaged 28 last year with Jason Tatum out. It's hard to see him going back to a 19 point per game role now just because everyone has to share the ball. Maybe he does. Listen, more power to him. Maybe they're all as locked in and everyone's gonna be bought in and it's gonna be kumbaya and they're gonna go win 70 games and 16-2 and win a championship. I don't know. You got Tyrese Maxey, who's of course really, really good offensively. I don't need to speak on him. He's a walking bucket. Easy 25 a night. And then you got VJ. VJ should be another good 15 to 18 a night, maybe closer to 20 on different teams, but he's not gonna get those touches. I don't think to get 20. That's a lot of points. You have to add up a lot of possessions, a lot of touches you got spread. I'm interested to see how that works and how you keep everybody happy on a nightly basis when Jalen Brown might get 7 shots in the game, or Joel Embiid, you might only get 9 shots tonight. You know, Seeing how Joel's reacted previously, I don't think Joel's gonna care as much. But Tyrese Maxey, you're only getting 12 shots tonight because we kind of spread the love a little bit more. Is it isn't that yeah, that's Philly, the brotherly love. We spread. Ooh, I'm not putting that sentence together. Um, but uh, maybe to see how those egos all kind of work together. I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to see Nick Nurse do nowadays and see how that leads to their success. I think it's a big thing. I think it's easier when you have a guy like LeBron who literally played point guard for a year and then led the league in assists. So it's kind of like you can do it. It's not really concerns for it. So, um, yeah, yeah. That's all I gotta say about that. What else I got here? Who's the primary half court initiator? It seems a little bit interesting to still have Tyrese Maxey run the half court offense when LeBron's undoubtedly the best playmaker. And it's could just be like a LeBron paradox, like LeBron's always been the best playmaker on his team, so naturally he always was the primary initiator. Now he's still the best playmaker, but now they're trying to have probably a reduced offensive role, I'm assuming. So what does that look like? Does he still run that full? Does he just like a full point forward now? And then we're gonna have this VJ and Tyrese. Well, kind of flying off screens and more off ball actions and more spot up moments. And how's that look? I'm really interested to see what this offensive scheme looks like. I'm excited, man. Mike D'Antoni, you got that itch? You still got that itch? You want to come back and coach? Come be an assistant in Mid Philly. Your boy Daryl Morey ain't there no more, but hey, come be an assistant coach. Come cook up with his offense. Uh, I would like to see. I kind of talked about kind of concerns about kind of that scrapper, that glue guy on the offense. I kind of already talked about that, so I don't need to touch that too much more. I don't think. Shout out to Braun though. Sounds like he's gonna be able to keep 23. Yeah, he should be able to keep 23 because Eric Gordon was just wearing it, so he should be able to wear it. But yeah, super excited to see. So I mean, just to recap, This was a very easy and very obvious decision for the Philadelphia 76ers. There was no other way to put this. I mean, slam dunk. A plus offseason. A plus offseason. The Miami Heat angle. This one's gonna be a little bit brief. I don't have too much to say on that end. Their reunion, the fuel behind it always felt more reminiscent. It seemed more like we're like trying to relive the Heatles versus trying to win a championship today. When I'm trying to build a championship team around Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James is like the archetype I'm farthest away from. Non-elite shooter, on-ball playmaker who needs the ball in his hands to be the best version of himself that he can be. You know, not necessarily dedicated to the rebounds as he once was or once had the ability to. Defensive motor questionable with his age and the mileage on his legs, and um, so I didn't see the great fit. And then you already have Wiggins at the three, so you would have to end up playing Wiggins up at the two, or you're putting Brown at the one, and you need a new shooting guard, and Wiggins is going to guard ones, and it was a lot of very weird game planning that, for a minimum, you would figure out for LeBron, but it just didn't make sense. It seemed like, hey, LeBron's so good, if we can get him for a minimum, let's get him. More so than this piece. This is the missing piece. We need to go get this guy and add him to our team, and we're going to be good. I didn't see that. I just didn't see that, unfortunately. Um, but shout out to the Heat. I feel like they are on the right direction with the shooting. You know, adding Tim Hardaway Jr. I think Bradley Beal. I think after all these years, Bradley Beal finally makes sense on this roster. I think him in a more off-ball role, catching, shooting, secondary shot creator next to Giannis. I think this makes a lot of sense for him. We'll see if it ends up sticking or not. But I really like that. But yeah, I think that's all I really had to say. Um, Ironically, I think the Miami Heat. I think they're probably better off without LeBron. If I really had to guess, just think it was going to be a really weird, a really annoying headache to try to figure out schematically how that all looked together. I mean, we're talking about people as talented as LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo. I think they would have just figured it out. There's very talented players, but it's just not. It's not. I don't think it's a great fit for it, make it an easier time for Giannis to kind of address these off-season issues that, or not necessarily the issues, but the off-season walls that he's been kind of running into with the Bucks before and after that 21 championship. So yeah, kind of sucks that Chris Middleton went back to Washington. I would like him in Miami next to Giannis one more time, or like that a little bit more shooting. But yeah, that's all I really say about Miami. I don't have too much. I feel like they're still in a really, really good spot. I just don't think they. It just felt kind of odd. Cleveland Cavaliers, guys. If I was a Cavs fan, I'd be in shambles. I can't lie. I'd probably be in shambles if I was a Cavaliers fan. This is the third time in his career your franchise's GOAT looked you dead in your eyes and said, I'm good. Dead in your eyes. And just said, we're good. The first time it makes sense. He had kind of expended the resources that the Cavaliers had to build those championship or sorry, finals runs, which ended up coming short. He couldn't kind of break through that wall out east. So he finally decides to leave at his first free agency ability, and he goes to Miami. He kind of creates one of the first, not one of the first super teams. Well, they've been making super teams, but he kind of popularized that super team ideology. Finally is able to get through that wall at Miami. That makes sense. He couldn't win a championship in Cleveland. He tried repeatedly, couldn't get through that wall. They just didn't have enough pieces. He goes somewhere else where they had the pieces. Cool. He returns to Cleveland. Returns to Cleveland. And over the course of 4 years, I believe, yeah, he did. He made the finals all four times in those 4 years. And he wins one of them. So it goes 1-3. 2020, 2015, of course, they had the injuries to Kevin Love and Kyrie. 17, 18, you got Kevin Durant Warriors. 1-16, come back from the 3-1 deficit. Awesome. Finally bring a championship to Cleveland. They spend all the resources building up that team. He said, I've got washed by these KD Warriors back to back years. This ain't gonna work anymore. So then he goes to LA. He says, LA, you guys are a free agent destination on paper. The city of LA is a free agent destination. You have a plethora of cap space now that you sent Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. back to Cleveland. You just sent D'Angelo Russell to go dump Timothy Mozgov's contract. Um, you've cleared up all this cap space. We have draft picks. You have young guys you've kind of hit on. None of them are absolute superstars, but they're good players. We're coming here. We're going to use all these assets. We're going to go build another contender. And we're going to go win again. The Cavs have spent their assets. He went to a place that had more assets to build a better team. He ends up winning a championship in LA. He gives two different extensions to the Lakers, if my memory serves me right. He has his initial 4-year deal and then two additional extensions. Again, if memory serves me right. And then they are past LeBron. Listen, whatever happened, they're past the LeBron stage. LeBron's past the Lakers stage. They're saying we're good. We're gonna break this up. You're going to sign for a minimum contract in the twilight years of your Hall of Fame career. Hold on, glasses are crooked. I gotta get this right. You're in the twilight years of your Hall of Fame career. You have the ability to go home for a minimum. Go home for the minimum. Throw in the towel. Cleveland, this is for you. Storybook ending. You say no. You say, I don't think so. And to make it worse, they're not even a bad team. Like they're not even like it's not even like they're the Hornets, and you're like, come on, guys, come on, guys. We're it's fun and exciting, but we both know we're not doing too much here. The Cavaliers. You have Donovan Mitchell. I think he's arguably the second best shooting guard in the NBA. Some people would even call him the best shooting guard in the NBA. You have a young power forward who's 2 years removed from Defensive Player of the Year. They got Jared Allen, who I think is an attainable asset. They need to flip him and make space somewhere else and maybe get a new defensive wing or whatever was necessary. They have a good trade piece there to use. You can use Jalen Tyson if you need to have some more cap additives. You have Max Struess's contract, who's a good playoff performer. It's just, I'd be hurt, man. I'd be hurt, man. Shout out, listen, if you're a Cavs fan, let me know how you feeling. But just to know 3 times in his career, he just said, I'm good, guys. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. You like my LeBron costume though? Bald head with a little bit of beard. A little bit of beard. I still got a lot of working out to do to look like Bron though. The James Harden, it was leaked. James Harden might have been a nail in the coffin because he really is a huge fan of Darius Garland and the fact that they traded him for James Harden. Saw Cleveland as a less favorable destination. Would make a lot of sense if Rich Paul did not publicly say he was a very avid supporter of getting Darius Garland out of there. The timing that he did because he understood the second apron cap gymnastics and he knew you can't really have 4 large contracts in this NBA environment. So he looked around and said, well, Donovan Mitchell's getting paid and Evan Mobley got paid and then Jared Allen just got paid and we have role players off the bench. Well, who's the next man up? Darius Garland, who had just struggled in the previous playoff series. So then, being a good agent, sounds like you got pretty proactive and he ended up getting him traded to I would say, pretty good destination for Darius Garland. He'll get the media and kind of market influence, and he'll probably have some pretty good off the court expenditures going forward. But also, could be a fun young team. Him and Brandon Ingram, if the quiet deal goes through, him and Brandon Ingram look like they'd be a fun duo together. And then I think this is a bit interesting coming from him that not coming from him. I'm so sorry, but a bit interesting knowing his potential involvement in getting Darius Garland out of Cleveland. That might have been a pretty aggressive factor in LeBron not wanting to go back there. I think that's rough. Um, that was what I was hoping for as a Lakers fan. I was hoping it was Cleveland. I wanted to see the storybook ending. I wanted to see him go right off in the sunset and wear 23 one last time in Cleveland, and maybe we'll still get that. Braun, listen, let Braun tell it how it sound like. We might be getting Braun in 2030, right? Braun might be 47. Braun, Braun, Braun might be holding on for a while. So we might still get that. Maybe it's just delayed but not denied, right? Delayed but not denied. Part of the fit that I didn't love in Cleveland as far as a contender is there's such a thing as too much ball creation. I guess we're about to see in Philly anyway, but I felt like it was a little bit too much ball dominance between Harden and Mitchell and Braun. I thought it was going to end up being a pretty weird fit. So, as a basketball fan, I'm happy he's not in Cleveland because I thought it was a little bit weird as currently constructed. But I thought it sounded like such a good storybook ending. Just sucks. But at the end of the day, LeBron did what was best for him and his family. So shout out to Bron, shout out to him for continuing the legacy and attempting to chase number 4 on Team 4, which has not been done before. One team with or one championship before different teams, never been done before. So we're gonna see how that looks here and see. I'm not super. I don't know. I'm not super excited for what this team ends up looking like. I hope they have another free agent move or something. The 76ers. I don't. I'm not in love with where we're currently sitting. But the great news is LeBron came for a minimum, so you didn't like burn assets to get him. You still have assets to fix the team. If there's a hole, you get here in the middle of January and you're like, man, we need a better rebounder. You have assets. You have 10 seconds. You know, Jay Crowder cost 5 seconds. I heard, so we'll try trade for him. Shout out to Milwaukee Bucks. I had to get that in there. Yeah. On a real note, shout out to him. Uh, hope all goes well for him as a Lakers fan, as an NBA fan, first and foremost. Hope all goes well for him out there. Ciao, Bronny. You gonna take 23 from your pops? Well, you can go take that 23. I'm playing y'all. It's been a while, but shout out to everybody that was involved in this pursuit of happiness. The rest, you guys, let me know down below what you guys think about everything in the LeBron James moves. If you guys have any new ideas that I didn't mention here, or that you guys differ from my current opinion, let me know. I like hearing different opinions, different ideas. My rule of thumb, you can say that my idea was really bad as long as you tell me why your idea is better. That seems pretty fair to me. But anyway, it's your boy. I'm out of here. Peace. Did y'all hear that?